Imagine waking up to headlines claiming that Apple's next-generation iPad Pro M5 has already leaked, stolen units have surfaced in Russia, and the internet is buzzing about design changes, a mysterious dual camera, and a chip so powerful it could blur the line between tablet and laptop forever. Yes, we're talking about the iPad Pro M5, the device that could redefine what Pro actually means in Apple's ecosystem. And tonight we're diving deep into every single leak, rumor, and insider whisper. The shocking supply chain leaks, the benchmark surprises, the display upgrades, and the features Apple may be secretly hiding until launch day. So grab your seat because what you're about to hear might completely change the way you see Apple's most powerful tablet ever. Let's start from the beginning, when the first M5 rumors began swirling. Just a few months after Apple released the M4 iPad Pro, tech insiders began noticing strange production movements coming from Samsung and LG factories. OLED panels were being mass-produced under Apple contracts, even though Apple had just finished their M4 launch. That immediately sparked the first theory, that Apple wasn't waiting for a long refresh cycle this time. Something big was brewing, and it wasn't just another chip bump. Then came the leaks. Multiple reports from The Verge and TechRadar suggested that prototype iPad Pro units with the new M5 chip were spotted inside Apple's testing facilities, with internal benchmarks already outperforming the M4 by a significant margin. We're talking about single-core scores hitting around 4,100 and multi-core results blasting past 15,000 on Geekbench, numbers that push this tablet into true MacBook territory. But performance is only one side of this story. The real twist came when leaked unboxing videos started surfacing from Russia. Yes, actual videos showing unreleased M5 iPad Pros that appeared to have escaped Apple's tight security web. According to insiders, these devices may have come directly from Apple's logistics chain, possibly stolen or diverted from early testing shipments. The moment these clips hit social media, the tech world exploded. What people saw in those leaks wasn't just another iPad, it was something subtly different. The bezels looked thinner, the frame appeared even more premium, and there was something unusual about the camera setup, possibly a dual front camera system, with one lens positioned for portrait mode and another for landscape. Now, this design choice sounds small, but for creators, podcasters, and professionals using iPads for FaceTime or Zoom, that's a game changer. The idea of the iPad intelligently switching between front cameras depending on orientation feels like something only Apple would obsess over. But not all the leaks agreed. Some units showed the second camera as a dummy sensor, non-functional, possibly hinting that Apple might have been testing the feature and later scrapped it before mass production. And that's where things get even more interesting, because that's classic Apple behavior. Historically, Apple often prototypes multiple variations of a product. Remember the AirPower charger or the Touch ID on display experiments, but doesn't always push them to market. Now, what about the M5 chip itself? This chip is rumored to be built on a next-generation 2nm process, giving it efficiency and performance never seen before in an iPad. It's not just about faster apps. We're talking about desktop-class GPU performance, smoother 3D rendering, better AI computation, and more battery life from the same thin chassis. Apple's rumored N1 wireless chip inside the M5 iPad Pro could also unlock support for Wi-Fi 7 and Bluetooth 6, allowing faster connectivity, lower latency, and real-time device switching that feels instant. Imagine connecting to your Mac, iPhone, or even Vision Pro headset seamlessly with zero lag. That's the ecosystem dream Apple is quietly moving toward. But wait, Apple being Apple, there's always more behind the curtain. Industry insiders say Apple's strategy for the M5 generation is a chip-and-ship cycle, meaning minimal design change, maximum internal upgrades. On the surface, it might look like the M4, but inside, it's a completely re-engineered beast. Still, many fans hoped for a visual redesign, possibly an edge-to-edge display with ultra-slim bezels or a notch-free front. Some analysts even claim Apple is saving that radical redesign for the 2026 or 2027 iPad lineup, when they might integrate Face ID directly under the screen. For now, the M5 iPad Pro seems to focus on perfecting performance rather than reinventing the wheel. Speaking of the display, and this part is fascinating. Reports suggest Samsung and LG have already started large-scale OLED panel production specifically for Apple, and supply chain insiders believe these panels are optimized for the iPad Pro M5. This could mean richer blacks, better contrast ratios, and higher brightness levels than ever before. Combine that with ProMotion 120Hz, True Tone, HDR support, and potentially a new coating for reduced reflections, and you've got what might be the best screen ever put in a tablet. Apple could even market it as the sharpest, smoothest, and most accurate color display ever made, echoing their typical keynote language. Now, let's talk about memory, something that's been a quiet but important complaint among power users. Leaks indicate that the base 256GB M5 model could jump from 8GB to 12GB of RAM, a huge upgrade for multitasking, video editing, and gaming. High-tier models could even cross 16GB or more, rivaling entry-level MacBooks. This shift clearly shows Apple's plan to make iPads not just companion devices but true laptop replacements. And that brings us to perhaps the most debated question. Is Apple finally going to let iPadOS fully utilize this power? Because what good is a 15,000 Geekbench score if iPadOS still limits desktop workflows? Many tech enthusiasts believe that the M5 iPad Pro might debut with a major iPadOS update, possibly iPadOS 19, bringing advanced multitasking, desktop-level file management, external monitor flexibility, and more AI-powered apps leveraging Apple Intelligence. That would tie perfectly with Apple's growing AI narrative. Rumors also point to deeper integration between iPad and Vision Pro. Imagine using your iPad as a physical control panel or editing station in an augmented workspace. That's not science fiction anymore. Apple's patents already describe such interactions. Now, speaking of patents, one of the more surprising leaks involves something called dynamic energy tuning. It's a system that adjusts the M5's power usage per core in real time, maximizing efficiency when browsing and delivering full horsepower during rendering or gaming. That's exactly how Apple plans to keep battery life long while increasing performance. And if you're wondering about battery specs, Apple might stick to the same capacity, but pair it with smarter management via the M5's neural controller. So, should you upgrade? That's the million-dollar question. The leaks make one thing clear. The iPad Pro M5 is going to be the most powerful, most efficient, and most connected tablet Apple has ever made. But if you already own the M4, the jump might not be huge unless you're a creator, designer, or professional user pushing the limits. However, if you're coming from an M2 or older, this could feel like a leap into the future. And yes, the rumored price might make you blink. Reports suggest it could start around $1,190 and go up to nearly $2,000 for higher configurations. That's premium territory, but that's exactly how Apple positions its flagship devices, not as tablets, but as future laptops. Now, here's the wild part. Some insiders believe Apple might stealth launch the iPad Pro M5 without a full keynote, dropping it quietly via press release, similar to the M2 Mac Mini strategy. But if Apple does go big, expect an October or early November event focused on performance, AI, and creative workflows. We could see Apple showcasing the M5's power with Final Cut Pro, Logic Pro, or the new Apple Intelligence Suite running natively on the iPad. That would send a huge message. That the iPad Pro isn't just catching up to laptops, it's outpacing them. The final leaks worth mentioning are small but exciting. Magnetic pin layout changes for new Magic Keyboard accessories, possible 4-pin connector redesign, and improved haptics for Apple Pencil 3 support. There are whispers that the Apple Pencil 3 might include haptic feedback, swappable tips, and even color sensors for real-world sampling. Yes, imagine tapping your pencil on a real surface and instantly matching that color on screen. If that's real, it's going to be huge for artists and designers. So where does all this lead? The M5 iPad Pro feels like Apple's next step toward merging creativity, power, and intelligence. It's less about changing what an iPad looks like, and more about changing what it can do. The leaks, the benchmarks, the stolen units, the production reports, they all point to one truth. Apple is not slowing down. They're preparing the iPad to be the ultimate creative tool, the bridge between macOS and iPadOS, and possibly the foundation of a new AI-driven era of devices. The M5 iPad Pro might just be the quiet revolution nobody saw coming. So, as we count down to its rumored launch this fall, one question remains. Will Apple surprise us again, or are we already holding all the pieces of the puzzle? Only time will tell. Until then, keep your eyes on the leaks, stay subscribed, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into the iPad Pro M5 rumors, make sure to smash that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more Apple updates. Because the story isn't over. In fact, it's just getting started.